Well, hi everyone, and welcome here to your live stream employment law session on this June the 4th, Wednesday. We are here live today to talk about employment law. So thank you so much for joining me. I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru, Tumarkin, LLP. And you are listening to me because you want to learn about employment law. You want to understand your workplace rights. You want to know if what your boss is doing is legal or illegal, what to do if you're lost your job, what to do if your job has changed, if you're put on a temporary layoff, if your business is sold, if you're being mistreated, you name it. This is where you find out all these answers. And the best way to do that, it's simple. Just ask the question. You have a box on the screen. You can read it, type it in, hit enter, and it will pop up on my screen, and I'll give you the answer. That's how simple this is. So take advantage of that, and I'm here for you, with you, for the duration of the next half hour. Again, I'm Lior Samfiru. I'm one of the founding partners of Samfiru Tumarkin LLP. You can find us across Ontario, BC, and Alberta. And once a week, sometimes twice a week, I log in right here on this medium here to join you, to answer your questions, to help you understand your workplace rights. So take advantage. I'm not always here, so you got me here focused and zoomed in right on you. So ask your question right now and let me help you. You have legal rights. We have some of the best employment laws in the world right here in Canada. And I can tell you what they are. I can tell you what to do. I can tell you if what your boss is doing is legal or illegal. But I can't really do that unless you ask me the question, right? So ask the question and you'll get that help. Of course, beyond just these 30 minutes, if you want to connect with me and my team across Ontario, BC, and Alberta, so easy to do. You just go to employmentlawyer.ca. You see that address on the screen right now, employmentlawyer.ca. And phone number is there. Email address is there. Form, if you prefer to fill out, it's right there. It's so easy to reach out to me, to my team across those provinces. And of course, when you're there, and if you want to, you can also read more about your legal rights, about employment law, so that you understand your situation even better. So that's your kind of one-stop shop, employmentlawyer.ca. But that's for when I'm not live. Right now, I am live on this June the 4th. So let's make sure you get those answers. I'm going to start answering questions right now. As you're listening to me, by all means, please ask your question as well. So if you've just joined, Lior Samfiru, that's me, the employment lawyer. Let's get started answering some questions. All right. First question today, right off the bat, is from RFBT. I've been working at a restaurant for a few years now, and the owners have decided that they will only pay the base salary of the minimum wage for everyone. Anyone that makes over the minimum, example, the management team, will have the difference be paid from the tip pool. We are a smaller store, so we don't have assigned tables for our servers and rather just split the tip at the end of each pay cycle. The manager at our workplace do everything that a normal server does. They take orders, bus tables, clean, etc. So I'm not sure I understand exactly what your employer is doing here. It's not clear to me, but here's what I will say. If what they're doing results in you making less money, if what they're doing results in your pay decreasing, that may be illegal. It may be what we call a constructive dismissal. If by taking away some of the tips that you would otherwise get and spreading them to others, it results in you making less money, then guess what? That's not something your employer is allowed to do. And if they do that, you can't physically stop them. There's no, employment law police that arrests your employer for doing that. But if your employer does that, it may give you the right to say, no, I'm not okay with this. I'm not accepting it. Instead, I'm going to choose to consider this as a termination of my employment and get severance, get your full severance. Now, that could be months and months pay that you're owed. So that's an option that you have. But here's why you really want to seriously consider doing that. It's probably a good idea. Let's say you don't do that. Let's say you continue working. They took away some of the tips that you have. You're making less money. By accepting that and continuing to work, you're potentially giving the company the right to do it again. So next time when they reduce your tips even more, you may not be able to do anything about it because you let it happen that first time. So that's why when your employer starts taking away your compensation, kind of changing your structure, reducing your pay, it may be best to say, no, that's a constructive dismissal. I'm not okay with that. I'm going to treat that as a termination and get severance. So RFBT, that's the answer here. If you have a follow-up question, please ask it. Otherwise, if you want to consider pursuing a constructive dismissal before you do anything, I want you to connect with me. You could do that through employmentlawyer.ca, and I'll be happy to chat and go over the situation. So thank you for that. Fantastic question. Love it. If you've just joined me, thank you for being here. I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer, live answering employment law questions. I see a couple more questions have just come in. I will ask them. I will answer them, but I want you to ask yours as well. If you're watching, if you've just joined, ask your question. Tell me what you're dealing with in the workplace. I'll tell you if it's legal or illegal and what to do about it. But let's get to answering some more questions. All right, Jana Lee has our next question. Can my employer reserve the right to change our commission policies at any time? They've included lines in our contract that say the commissions are subject to change. So an employer generally does not have a right to change your commission structure unless you've given them that right by signing an employment agreement that says that they can do that. So generally they can't, but if your employment agreement says, hey, you agree to give us the right to change your commission structure, then they can do that. Now, that doesn't mean that they can do whatever they want. So in your situation, Jana, for me to tell you what the limits are of what they can and cannot do, I would have to see your employment agreement. For example, if an employment agreement goes far and says, we can do whatever we want to your commission structure, we can take it away, we can reduce it, we can eliminate it. If it says all those things, potentially they can do that. If it simply says we have a right to make changes, that's more limited. So I'd want to see that. So for example, that may mean that they can make some changes, but they can't eliminate, they can't take away commissions or make it salary instead of commissions. So we'd have to see that, but you want to be very careful with that employment agreement. You can often give your employer rights in the employment agreement that they wouldn't otherwise have. So be very careful with that. If you're facing a change to your commissions, let's connect. Let me see that employment agreement, and I'll tell you in your specific situation if what your employer is doing is legal or illegal. And of course, to connect with me so we can do that, very easy. Just go to employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. Fantastic question. Thank you for that. If you've just joined me, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer, here with you answering questions about employment law. I see questions come in. I love it. It's going to be one of those days where I get lots of questions. Those are my favorite days. So please ask away as well. You have time, so much time. If you ask a question right now, you will get an answer on this session, guaranteed. Okay? I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer, answering questions just like I'm about to do now. Next question is from Stephanie. I just got laid off at the age of 70. I can't afford not to have a job. I'm somewhat disabled. I'm a graphic designer. I'm only getting 2 weeks severance. I had no problem layoff. Presumably you mean a prior layoff. So, Stephanie, you haven't told me how long you've worked there. Okay, I don't know if you worked there for 6 months or 25 years. So I need to know that. But here's what I can tell you. You're probably owed a heck of a lot more than 2 weeks severance. Okay, whatever severance you're owed is going to be calculated in months, not weeks. So the thing here is we can't do anything about the fact that they let you go. We may not like it. We may think it's unfair, but legally they can. What we can do something about is your severance. 2 weeks is not going to be enough. Even if you just started, frankly, it's not going to be enough. And so if you want to tell me right now how long you've worked there, I can tell you exactly how much you're owed. But beyond that, you're probably owed a heck of a lot more than 2 weeks severance. So what I want you to do, Stephanie, is I want you to connect with me off air, off social media, so we can have a private discussion and I can help you get the severance that you're owed. It may take you a bit longer to find another job. It's more difficult at the age of 70 to find a job than it is, let's say, at the age of 40. And because of that, you want to make sure that you get all the severance that you're owed, because that severance is supposed to carry you until you find another job. So Stephanie, you got to connect with me so we can get you the severance that you're owed. Employmentlawyer.ca is the way to do that. Okay, sorry, you're saying 1.5 years. So you're probably owed around 4 months of severance, okay? 4 months. Not weeks, but 4 months. So 2 weeks is what they've given you. 4 months is what you're owed. There's the answer, okay? You're owed a heck of a lot more. So you want to connect with me through employmentlawyer.ca, okay? And let's get you that 4-month severance. Thank you for that, Stephanie. Great question. Same with you at home. If you've been let go, if you've been laid off, doesn't matter whether you worked there for a few months or for many years, you're probably owed a heck of a lot more than what you've been offered. Just like Stephanie. Do the right thing. Do the only thing you should be doing. Let's connect. Reach out through employmentlawyer.ca and let's go over it. All right, fantastic question. Lots of questions come in. Let's continue answering, by the way. If you're wondering whether you should ask your question, what are you waiting for? No problem, no judgment here, just answers and solutions. So let's make sure we get you those answers that you need. Next question is from Saga World Boss, who says, I've been terminated from my job without cause. Should I receive my last paycheck on the next payday? Yes, of course, but that's not a problem because you're going to get that. The real issue is severance, okay? You're owed severance. And you could be, let me see, you're not saying anything else here, but you could be owed several months' pay. Okay, so the issue here is not your last pay. Of course, you're going to get that. They're going to give it to you on your on the next pay date. But you could be owed many months of severance. So Saga World Boss, you got to connect with me, man. You got to make sure that we get you what you're owed, okay? Employmentlawyer.ca to connect with me. Now, I've mentioned severance a couple of times here. So let's take a small break to kind of tell you a bit more. If you want to understand what is it that you're owed, how much severance you're owed, how much severance you should be getting, very, very simple to do that, okay? We have a tool called the Severance Calculator that allows you to find out in seconds how much severance you're owed. How do you access it? Very simple. All you do is you go to pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. You see that address right there, pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. And when you're there, you click on the Severance Calculator. That's it. You're right there now. You can answer a few questions, and it's going to tell you if you're owed 4-month severance, 10-month severance, 24-month severance. It's easy. It's free to use, and it gives you the correct assessment of your entitlements, okay? You're not owed a week per year or 2 weeks per year. You're owed a lot more than that. So check out pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. It's free and anonymous, no names, no phone numbers, no email addresses. It's just there for you to use. Over 2 million Canadians have used it. Do so as well. Again, pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. Check it out. All right, let's continue. Questions. I want your question as well with me, Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer. I'm live. Let's continue answering your questions. Ina has our next question. I was let go just 2 days after a gradual return from a medical leave due to workplace stress. No cause, just told I wasn't a fit. HR privately advised I asked for more severance. I was there 2 years and 7 months. My psychiatrist believes it may be discrimination. I sent you an email this morning just wondering what I should do as I've been asked to sign by Tuesday. Okay, well, if you sent an email, my team will call you back either later today or certainly within 24 hours. So if you were let go because of the fact that you were sick or you were on a gradual return to work, it could be discrimination. If the reason had nothing to do with that, it just happened to coincide, it's not discrimination. But if you're the only one that's been let go and the only thing that's changed is that you had the medical condition, it kind of starts to look like that's why they're letting you go. So that could easily be discrimination or what we call a human rights violation, illegal. So we need to discuss that. The other thing is, of course, severance. Now, I know you've been there for 2 years and 7 months. You didn't give me your age or the type of job that you had there, but you could easily be owed 4 to 6 months of severance, maybe even more than that. If you're still struggling with a medical condition, it could be even more than that. Okay, you were offered 4 weeks severance, I see. Well, you're probably owed 4 to 6 months and potentially more. Again, I don't know your age and I don't know the type of job that you had, but it could be 6, it could even be more than that. So that's what you're owed. So you've been wrongfully dismissed. A wrongful dismissal simply is a situation when you're let go without proper severance. Okay, so that's what's happened to you here. You're owed much more than 4 weeks. So you got to connect with me. Potentially there's a human rights violation. So you said you've already sent me an email. Fantastic. We'll get back to you either later today or within 24 hours. Okay, so you're 32 years old, brokerage project specialist. Yeah, you're probably looking at close to 6 months. 5 to 6 months of severance is what you're owed. So Ina, we'll connect with you. We'll get you that severance, and we will make sure that we deal with this in the best way possible. Thank you for that. Great question. I'm sorry you're in that situation, but we will help. Thank you, by the way, for all the questions. Please bring them in. I see some more have come in. Don't wait. We're starting to get towards the kind of the second half of the session today. And if you wait too long to ask your question, I may not be able to answer it in the time that we have today. Now you still have time. Now you don't have to worry about it. So don't wait any longer. Type in your question right now, and let's make sure you answer it. And if you've just joined, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru Tumarkin LLP, and I'm here live answering your questions about employment law, telling you what you need to know, telling you if what your employer is doing is legal or illegal. So ask your question as well. All right, let's continue. Next question is from Milan. Sorry if I mispronounced it. I've been offered a role in the field I've been striving to break into. It's a dream opportunity. There's a complication. I'm 3 months pregnant. The role comes with a 6-month probationary period, but the baby is due before that period would be completed. Should I accept the offer now and wait to disclose the pregnancy until closer to the start of maternity leave? Or would it be better to be upfront with the employer from the start? I'm worried that accepting this new offer is too risky, as it would mean I'm at risk of being let go prior to the maternity leave. Is this a valid concern? Yes, it is. It's up to you to do whatever you want in terms of to disclose now or after you start. It's completely up to you, and they can't do anything to you. I'm always a big believer in honesty. So I would say to you, tell them now. If they don't hire you because of that, if they say, oh, we've changed our mind, that is a human rights violation. That's illegal. They cannot do that. So either way, whether you tell them now or later, if they do anything to you, it's illegal. Now, you have to ultimately, even though they can't do anything to you, you have to figure out, does that make sense for you to accept this position given the time frame for you to make that decision? All I can tell you is they cannot mistreat you, discriminate you, let you go because you're pregnant. You may decide to say to skip this opportunity because you're not going to be able to see it through. That's your decision, but they can't do anything to you in that regard. So thank you for that question, Milan. I appreciate it. Ask yours as well, by the way. If you're just joining us right now, let's make sure that you get answers. Lior Samfiru, that's me, the employment lawyer. And I want to get to some more questions, so I'm going to do that right now. Suzette has our next question. My father was let go from his job, worked there for 20 years. He's 64. We think it's because of his age. They're offering him 13 weeks of pay. Is this reasonable? What if it is age discrimination? So let's start with the 13 weeks. I'll come back to the discrimination. So no, 13 weeks is outrageous. He's probably owed about 18 months, not weeks, not 18 weeks, 18 months. And they're offering him 13 weeks. So 13 weeks is 3 months. So instead of 18 months, they're offering him 3 months. You understand how terrible that is. That is a wrongful dismissal with a cherry on top. It's that obvious. No, not legal. So right off the bat, your dad needs to contact me ASAP. Now, age discrimination. Here's the thing. If there's a bunch of people doing a similar role and he's the only one let go and he happens to be 64 and everyone there is 34, well, you know what? It starts to look like age discrimination. They're singling him out because of age. On the other hand, if a few people were let go, it may be different, right? It may be difficult to say it's because of his age or it's a part of a bigger restructuring. So we have to look at the facts, but this absolutely could be age discrimination, in which case, in addition to the severance, the 18-month severance, he could be owed other damages as well. Not legal. You cannot be let go because of your age. In fact, your age can't be even a factor in the consideration to let you go. All right, so it may well be that, but it certainly is a wrongful dismissal because he's not owed 3 months severance, he's owed 18. So Suzette, you gotta have your dad call me, okay? Now, not after he signs. Once he signs, that's it, he's done. There's no changing your mind, there's no going back. He needs to connect with me ASAP. For him to reach out to me, as I've said before, I'll give it to you again, employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca to do that, and I'll be able to help him and make sure he gets everything that he's owed. Asking the question here is fantastic. The next step you have to do for him is to get him to call me. Again, employmentlawyer.ca has all the contact information, phone number, email address, everything you need. And let's get to work to make sure that he gets everything he's owed. Thank you for that, Suzette. Great question. I'm sorry that your dad's going through that, but there is help. Beyond that, guys, let's continue answering some questions. I see some more have come in. You have time. It's kind of last 8, 9, 10 minutes or so of our session today. If you're still sitting on the fence there, let me kind of push you gently off the fence so you can get the question asked and get it answered. Don't be bashful. I promise you, I've never in my 23 years of doing this heard a bad question. There's never a bad question. There's only good questions and good answers. So thank you for that. And by the way, for the last few minutes, I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer with Samfiru, Tumarkin, LLP. All right, Suzette says, thank you. You're very welcome. Have your dad reach out to me. Vinette has our next question. My employer has approached me with an employment contract and said I need to sign. I've never signed one before. Should I be worried about this? Is it better to have one? You should be extremely worried about this, okay? It's not a good idea to have one. You're better, far better, not to have one. You're better to have worked on a handshake. The only thing an employment agreement does is it takes away rights that you would otherwise have automatically and eliminates them. So if your employer says, I need you to sign this agreement, there's only one reason for that. And that reason is it provides better terms for your employer. I'm going to give you an example, a few examples actually I'm going to give you. So what could be so bad in that employment agreement? Vinette, for example, I can guarantee you that there's a term in that agreement that limits your future severance. So you sign this, and let's say a year later, they decide to let you go for whatever reason. Now you potentially could be losing tens of thousands of dollars in severance that you would otherwise be owed because that agreement limits you, guaranteed. The other thing it may do is it may give the company the right to change your job, to change your pay, to change your hours. It may give the company the right to put you on a temporary layoff, something that they're not allowed to do. There's many other things it could do as well. So no, you cannot be forced to sign this. The answer should be thanks, but no thanks. I'm good. All right. So any problems, call me, and I'm more than happy to actually review it with you so I can tell you what it actually says, not what I believe it says. But it's not a good idea. It's a very, very bad idea to sign this. So please do the right thing. Certainly don't sign it without having me seeing it first. Okay? To connect with me, again, employmentlawyer.ca. Fantastic. Thank you for that question. Let's continue answering some more questions, shall we? By the way, Shannon, I see that you've asked some questions. It's come up to me in like about 5 or so entries. Can you see if you can put it into one and make it briefer? I'm not going to be able to read 5 different entries here. So Shannon, maybe just make it as short as you can, and I'll try to answer it. Anonymous has our next question. Anonymous says, I have been an independent contractor for the same company since 2008 with consistent work. Recent changes have work trickling into 3-4 jobs a week. Not sure what that means. They are 95% of my jobs. What are my options? So you're probably not an independent contractor. You're probably an employee. You're someone that has been misclassified as a contractor when you really are an employee. You don't work for a company since 2008 with consistent work and are an independent contractor. It doesn't happen. You are an employee. So if now what they're doing is they're reducing your hours or reducing your pay, giving you less work, that could be a constructive dismissal. So you may be able to consider this to be a constructive dismissal and get severance. And after 17 years, you could easily be looking at more than a year's pay. It could be even as much as 18 months' pay. So that's what your options are here. So I would want to connect with you so we can have a more in-depth discussion. The devil is in the details always, of course. So you want to reach out to me through employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca, and I'll be more than happy to help you. So fantastic question. Thank you for that. And I will look forward to hearing from you. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. But don't sit on this. If you continue working when they've reduced your hours, you may be considered to have accepted it. All right, fantastic. By the way, you can still ask some question and get it in under the wire, just like Robbie did here. Robbie says, I want to leave my current job. It's extremely toxic, but part of my contract has a non-compete. How limited am I from finding work in my field because of this? So it's tough for me to answer this because I don't know what field you're in. I haven't read your non-compete. I don't know what job you're doing. I don't know anything about the company. So I can't answer this in the vacuum. But here's the thing. Even if we look at this and we decide, yeah, the non-compete doesn't make sense, you can't just ignore it. The problem with ignoring it is the old company may still sue you for breach of the non-compete. Now, they'll lose, but at the end of the day, that could still be very complicated and costly for you and cause you a lot of problems. So you can't just ignore it. So we need to sit down and do this properly, review it. There may be a way to speak to the company and get them to release you from this non-compete. Again, it also depends on what province you're in. So we have better protections in certain provinces than others. So Robbie, rather than try to do this now, you got to connect with me before you do anything. You don't want to get sued and then contact me. You want to contact me to avoid being sued. So you can contact me through employmentlawyer.ca. Again, employmentlawyer.ca. And I'll help you get this done and resolved, okay? By the way, Lior Samfiru, that's me, the employment lawyer with Samfiru, Tumarkin, LLP. Let's see if we can take another question. This Shannon, I think that Shannon has reworded her question. Shannon said, I'm employed 7 years. I'm off long-term disability since October 25. You've been off on long-term disability since October 25 due to bullying and workload. The day I gave my medical note to the employer, the employer gave the record of employment, paid out vacation, etc. Is this a constructive dismissal? No, that's not necessarily constructive dismissal. When you go off work, they're required to pay you out your vacation pay and give you a record of employment so you can apply for EI. They have to. So it's not a constructive dismissal. You're still an employee, and when you're ready to come back to work, whether it's tomorrow, a month from now, a year from now, at that point, if they don't take you back, that could be a human rights violation, that could be a wrongful dismissal, etc. But the fact that they paid you your vacation and issued a record of employment, that in itself is nothing wrong with that. That's okay. So for now, I would simply focus on getting healthy, getting better, following your doctor's advice in terms of how to get healthy, and you deal with your employer when you're ready to come back to work. Once that happens and your doctor clears you, you're going to give them a doctor's note saying, I'm ready to come back to work. If they take you back, fantastic. If they do anything other than take you back, you call me, all right? And I'll help you. employmentlawyer.ca to connect with me and my team, and we'll do that. So hopefully, Shannon, that makes sense. Any follow-up for you, for anyone, now that we're at the end of the session, you can reach me through employmentlawyer.ca. Guys, this is the time we've had for today. Lots of questions from lots of people. Fantastic. I love it. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to speak to you, to answer questions, to help you with those workplace issues. Now that the session is over, you can continue the conversation. And you do that with me and my team in Ontario, in BC, and Alberta through employmentlawyer.ca. I'll be back here soon, as will my other colleagues. But don't wait for us to do that. You can reach out to us right now. Your workplace rights shouldn't be waiting, okay? Your workplace rights should be enforced. Sometimes if you don't enforce your workplace rights, you lose them, all right? So do the right thing, employmentlawyer.ca. I'm Lior Samfiru, the employment lawyer. Thank you again for joining me. I will see you again very soon. Have a good